Joanne.
Hello.
See you. How are things?
I'm always so thrilled technologically that this works.
I'm uptown because I have to be uptown to get a call, but it's not hot today, so I got a shot.
Okay, this fingers crossed.
So I've been out of the loop lately. Is anything happening?
Yeah, I'm really, really, really good at being the straight man. It happened quickly, didn't it?
So yeah, and we are in completely uncharted waters. But I will tell you, I was very, very concerned at the idea of President Biden deciding he would not accept the nomination, because it seemed to me that the last thing the country needed right now was chaos. And usually, if you look at 1968, for example, or the other occasions on which a president has decided not to run, they have left behind them complete chaos. And I think you have to give it to Biden and Harris, but especially Biden, on the way he timed stepping out, in that he not only waited until the Republicans had nominated a really unviable ticket, he also did it in such a way that it was about 32 hours between his announcement and the time that Kamala Harris had secured the nomination, or secured the delegates to get the nomination. And I did not see that coming. It was shocking.
No, and the thing is, and part of the emotional roller coaster of the last day or two is that what we had been feeling for at least 2 weeks was, all forms of media and all kinds of powers that be on the left. Let's have the one that drove me crazy. Let's have a blitz primary.
A thunder.
I swear, the number of times I wrote in all capital letters on social media, blitz primary. It's just like, come on. So it was like, it was being teed up for chaos. So yes, my initial thought was concern. I'm going to be Freeman-esque and use a light word here. Concern, right? I was.
Concerned. Did you feel concerned?
I felt concerned. I felt somewhat concerned. And it didn't take very long until he turned around and endorsed Kamala Harris. So I don't know if you knew, but I went on my YouTube channel, and when he decided not to run for re-election, I saw on social media people saying what you and I just said, which was like, oh no, like panic. And I felt bad. So I went on and I just, 2 minutes on the channel saying, calm down, like it's not over till it's over, it's all going to be okay. And then I don't know how much later, 10, 20, a half hour later, Kamala Harris has been endorsed by Biden, and suddenly everyone is like, oh, mood shifted.
The other thing that really shocks me, and really shocks me as a scholar of politics, is that the Republicans did not have an attack line ready to go. I mean, that was the thing that I really see, and they do not have one. They're absolutely floundering. It was, in a way, a move of sheer genius on the part of Biden to wait until they had gotten that far out on the limb before he said, now you're on your own with the oldest candidate in history. But also, it was political malpractice on the part of the Republicans not to expect that there could be a surprise. And all I can think of is it never occurred to them that somebody in power would give it up.
Well, that's very true, right? That someone would be self-sacrificing and would step away from power probably wasn't on their radar screen. They also obviously spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on Biden, particularly saying, oh, look, he's old, which in and of itself, whatever. But the other thing to remember with the Republicans, or the MAGA Republicans as they exist now, is they don't really have policies. I mean, Project 2025 represents one that they're backing away from, but it is, in a sense, their policies. But all they have is ad hominem attacks. That's all they have. They can't come back and say, we have a better vision for America, because they don't really play that card in appealing to their base. So not only did they not count on someone surrendering power for the good of the country and not for himself, but because, and we could talk for a while about all the reasons why they didn't see this coming, about this particular person, that they didn't think maybe that the Democratic Party would pick a Black woman and put her in this place. It also could be the simple blindness on their part to not being able to see that coming. But you're absolutely right. There's been a flat-footed response, and all I've seen so far are just what you would expect to see, which is kind of a rerun from Obama, right?
Right. Right. And frustration that they have prepared for the wrong exam, as it were. But, so looking forward, one of the things that many of us who study politics were interested in, we knew the demographic was going to be very different in 2028. And so the thing that kind of feels like a surprise to me is that in a way that demographic jumped the gun from what many of us were expecting. And they have really run with this in 2024, which makes this, I think, a unique presidents shall run, not only because of everything around it, but also because we're seeing a very new kind of political campaign. We're seeing a very new kind of enthusiasm. And that was the sort of thing that I think people like you and me were holding our breath, waiting for if we could just get to 2025 and 2026. And instead we're getting it in 2024. And it's what I don't remember my life. And I'm
No, absolutely. And again,
I know
go ahead.
Than you, but I don't remember a time in my life. You totally missed that. Yeah, exactly. I'm kidding, folks. She's got like a minute and a half on me. I don't remember a time in our lives that felt this excitement.
Right.
Even Obama.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? That young people have not felt this before. And the interesting thing is, again, thinking as a political historian, so many times in American history, it's been the youth vote. It's been youth activism. It's been young people who stepped forward and helped really organize and make things happen. So I've been sort of sitting, with my political historian brain on the side saying, that young people don't seem to be really focused on this. They don't seem to be interested in this. I have a young relative, and I was told that she just isn't interested in the whole election, which made me sad. But that's part of the wow that we're experiencing now, is this response by young people. And here's what's interesting about that. I've been told, I am not on TikTok, you and I are so advanced technologically, but I've been told they're all over the place now, making memes and making messages, and so not only is this something bigger than we thought and bigger than has been before, and with a different demographic than we thought, but technologically no one's going to know, or certainly no one over a certain age is going to know what's going on. So in the same way that Obama stunned people because he was sending emails, he had like an email campaign, and then Trump was like the tweeting president. Now we might have a TikTok moment.
Well, I also think what's interesting about this this election that I don't think we paid enough attention to is that older people are breaking heavily for the Democrats, which has not been the case in the past. And I just said to somebody recently, I think that is because many of us, for all of our whatever our political leanings may be, don't want to hand off a broken country to the next generation. And the linking of those older people with newly active older people, a lot of them, especially women, with young people who seem to be energized behind Vice President Harris, makes for a totally new political demographic. I mean, it's really interesting. I would like to emphasize, though, for all the excitement that we feel, being a Libra over here, it's not over yet. I mean, we still have 105 days to go, and we need to carry this enthusiasm and carry the voting, because lots of people can talk on TikTok. They need to freaking register to vote and to show up to vote. And everybody should check to make sure they have not been kicked off the rolls, as so many states are kicking people off the rolls, and making sure that this enthusiasm translates into actual votes, because this is going to need to be a landslide.
Absolutely. I mean,
The ballot.
I'm sorry?
Up and down the ballot.
Oh, no, for sure. Up and down the ballot. Sooner or later, the right is going to figure out some way to attack. But the main thing that I agree totally with what you just said, Heather, we have momentum right now, and that can fade fast. So we need to use that to enthuse people and do the work, do the speaking up, do the reaching out. And as Heather just said, doing the checking up so you make sure you're registered to vote. We need to now take this feeling of hope and put that to work. You know, that's what I immediately worried about, because I'm good at worrying. Yesterday was just that people are going to feel so relieved in a sense that now they're going to take a step back. And this is not the moment to take a step
Well,
back.
and the thing that I've been watching all day on social media, and since this happened, is that, I always probably will know which comedian I mean, but I won't say his name. But I've watched Trump obviously for a long time now, and he has always reminded me of a certain comedian who was a pretty good run-of-the-mill comedian, and began to do a shtick that was really vile. It was racist. It was sexist. It was way sexual. And for a while, nobody could look away. He was like the most popular comedian in the country. And then when people turned on him, as they do turn on bullies, they couldn't crush him fast enough and hard enough. And I feel like that's what we're seeing with Trump. All of a sudden, all these news outlets that wouldn't say anything about his mental state are running these stories going, don't we need to talk about Donald Trump? And all these people who gave him so many passes are suddenly pulling him out. I've seen another number of stuff about the fact that we've never heard about his injuries at that terrible shooting on July 13th. For 8 days, people were saying, why is nobody talking about this? And now all of a sudden there are major stories. If that continues, he will continue to fall apart. J.D. Vance is not able to pick up the difference. And, it's going to be important to keep that pressure on to kill not just this moment, but to get this movement back into the shadows
Well,
where it
right.
belongs.
There you go, is the word movement is the one to grab onto, because that's what we need to have. What's fascinating about this for the right is that, in a sense, the narrative that's been driving us nuts was just flipped over and pushed back on the right. So for weeks and weeks and weeks, people have been pointing and saying, but he's doing the same thing. He's doing worse things, right? Look at what he's saying. Why isn't anyone covering that? And some people in the press were saying, well, it's what he always does. It's the same old thing, right? There's no story there. Well, guess what? Now, when he's doing these nutty things, he's doing the same old things. Now it looks really different, and it becomes the story. So from a political historian point of view, this is a fascinating moment to watch and see things as they change in real time, right? Changes in the wind. We just have to, this is the worst metaphor. I lost my metaphor in the middle of it. Keep the fan blowing to keep the wind going. You got my drift.
I'm sure you got that metaphor from TikTok. I can just feel it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it looks like we succeeded this time, Joanne, and that my phone did not explode.
Woohoo!
So I'm going to say goodbye and send this to you to co-host, and we will catch up as quickly as we can, and see maybe if we can find a way to do it so that I don't have to wait till we have a rainy day.
That would be good. And maybe someday, dream of dreams, you won't be in your car.
No, just don't even start me. All
right. Sorry.
All right.
Bye, everybody. See you
and
soon,
love you.
Heather.
Bye.